Wow, okay. I guess the best way for me to really say something constructive right now, because I will be back with Oscar Isaac, one of the other actors, to answer any questions you have. Unfortunately, Ryan was planning on being here because he's a huge supporter of BAM, but he's shooting a movie right now in LA. So I just got a text from him to say hello to BAM, and he'll be back, and he loves girls from Brooklyn. Which I'm thinking will make a lot of women really, really happy. And anyway, the best for me to say the thing has 5 things a movie really has to have. It has violence, it has romance, it has a great cast, it's about American mythology, and it's only 90 minutes. So I'll see you soon. Well, I was in Los Angeles working on a movie with Harrison Ford called The Dying of the Light. That was a Paul Schrader script that Paul had given to me. And it was a wonderful, wonderful script about a CIA agent who goes like on an existentialistic journey and dies at the end. And I thought if I could do a movie where Harrison Ford dies, I would contribute to society. So I was really into making this film. And I had gone to Los Angeles at short periods at a time to work with him, and you know, because it's Harrison Ford, and you sit around in his big hangar with all his private planes, and you know, you hang out with Harrison Ford, and then he realizes that he doesn't want to die. Like, fucking hell. Okay, then there's no movie, Harrison. Well, he'd been thinking about it, and wasn't there another way that you could maybe, and back and forth. I was like, oh, God damn it. So I was so angry at myself for buying into the illusion of Hollywood, and of course, nothing ever happens. And then out of the blue, I got a call from Ryan Gosling asking if I would have dinner with him, and Ryan and I had never met, and so it was kind of like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, Harrison doesn't want to die, let's see if you want to die. So, the only problem was that I had a very high fever because I had gotten the flu on the plane coming in, and I was only in LA for 4 days in a row because my second child had just been born. So Harrison got me these anti-flu drugs that you have in this country, which was very helpful because it really put the fever down. The only problem was that it made me high as a kite also. So I was stoned out of my mind, and I hadn't done drugs in a really long time. So I felt really weird. And I was very slow, and I was actually speaking as slow as Harrison, so now I know why. He speaks the way he does. It's not a secret, it's an open the door. So anyway, so I finally get out of bed, and in the morning, you know, a script arrives that Universal had been developing that I knew Ryan was interested in, called Drive, and I read it, but I couldn't remember it. So, because I was so stoned, so when I finally came to the dinner, you know, I was the chair when I sat down, and there was nothing really for us to conversation about rather than the usual how are you, and I like you movies, oh, thank you very much, thank you. And I would be sitting like this, and if you were Ryan, I couldn't turn, so he was staring me in profile, which is, you know, very arrogant, but I simply could not move. So, you know, after you talk a little bit about music and some other abstract stuff, I asked him, you know, but clearly, you know, he was a wonderful, you can tell that this man had an aura of unbelievable proportions, you know, and I'd seen a few of his movies and so forth, and he was very interested in how I made my films. He had seen all of them and was, you know, very enthusiastic, and I just basically could not really have a conversation because I was speaking as slow as Harrison Ford, which makes the conversation very long. So anyway, halfway through the dinner, I said, could you please take me home? Which is a bit like, you know, a blind date gone wrong. And he goes, you don't drive? I said, no, I don't drive, man. I've failed my driving list 8 times. So, you know, and I didn't want to spend the money in the cab, really. So he said, sure, you need a ride, I'll drop you off. And so, you know, this dinner that hadn't really amounted to anything other than just, you're great, I'm great, yeah, we should do something together stuff, which is all about Hollywood conversations. We get into the car, we're driving along the freeway to Santa Monica, which is quite a long ride, and, you know, we're sitting in awkward silence, you know, and like a blind date gone wrong, and no action. And, you know, to break the silence, you turn on the radio, and Ryan turns on the radio, and it's soft rock station. And REO Speedwagon's I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore starts to play. So here I am riding with Ryan Gosling, you know, and I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore is blaring out the stereo. And you know when you're stoned, you do really stupid stuff like turning music really, really loud. Obnoxiously loud, so I turn the music very, very loud, and I'm getting into the song, and I'm from the 80s, you know, I remember that pop ballads, and I start singing to the song. So I'm singing my heart out, so I can't fight this feeling anymore, and I'm a terrible musician. I can't sing to save my life, and Ryan Gosling is just driving a car, not saying a single word, just looking straight ahead. And you know, I know, guys, we're pretty weak when we're ill, and we're kind of pathetic, especially when you're stoned at the same time, out of your mind. You're like complete turmoil, and I was missing my family and my kids, and Harrison Ford wouldn't die, so I start to cry. So here I'm sitting in the car, and tears are rolling down my cheek, and it's all just flowing out of me, And Ryan is still just sitting in the car driving. And I'm a fetish filmmaker, essentially. I make films purely on what I would like to see, and ideas come to me in the strangest places. But right there, I had an idea to do a movie. And I turned to Ryan for the first time, and I look at him, and he's a very good-looking man in the car, and I say to, scream really loud, because the music is so loud, with tears rolling down my cheek. I say, I got it, man. We're going to make a movie about a man who drives around at night in a car, listening to pop music, because that's his emotional relief. And Ryan takes a beat, and then he turns to me and looks at me and says, cool. I'm in. And that's how the movie got started. And after that, of course, I went back and I read the Universal material, which was interesting, but it wasn't my kind of a movie. And then I read the novel that it's based on by James Sallis, which is a wonderful piece of literature. And I said, I want to make the book. Because it was very different from what Universal had been developing. Because originally this was going to be like a $60 million action franchise. Not the movie you're seeing, but the original script was meant to be. It had no stuntman story, and it had a lot of groovy sex and hot young girls, and it was going to be Hugh Jackman who played the lead. And they never made it. So then when Ryan and I wanted to do it, and I kind of started changing the script to the extent of becoming something I could work with Hossein and me, the wonderful writer that I had on this film, Universal didn't want to do it. And no studio wanted to do it, so we had to go to independent financing, which meant the budget went really down and not a lot of time. But that was great, because that was my world. That's what I was used to. And I could control that in Hollywood and not having to fight my way for everything. And we did the movie, and here we are.